We are going to look at a question called Bluebird Enterprises. This is question 3 from the December 2014 exam and is for 10 marks. This question covers the topic of corporate governance. It has a moderate size scenario and focuses predominantly on the audit committee. You must be careful with timing in the exam, especially with the section B question containing a scenario. The volume of information in the scenario must be absorbed to ensure a pass. Therefore, aim for spending 1.8 minutes for every mark. This question should take you no more than 18 minutes. To successfully complete this question, you will need to plan your answer, taking care with the time allocated to each part of the question, use the scenario where needed, and have clear and efficient communication. It may be worth pausing the video at this point and printing off the exam question. That way you can follow the scenario as we talk through it. Let's break down the requirements. Part A asks for you to explain the benefits to Bluebird Enterprises of establishing an audit committee. This is for 4 marks, and so around 7 minutes should be spent on this part. To gain maximum marks, you will need to explain 4 benefits of an audit committee. Part B asks for you to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of appointing Part 1 Anthony Goldfinch and Part 2 Jacob Mallard. This is for 6 marks, and therefore around 11 minutes should be spent on this part. Do note that the marking allocation is for a maximum of 3 marks to be allocated for advantages and 3 marks for disadvantages between both directors. It also states that no more than 3 marks should be allocated for each director in total. Therefore, for one director you will need 1 advantage and 2 disadvantages, and for the other you will need 2 advantages and 1 disadvantage. Let us now start structuring our answer. For Part A, we need to explain benefits of establishing an audit committee. We know from the scenario that Bluebird is planning to list on the stock exchange in the next 6 months, and they have no non-executive directors currently. With that in mind, we need to explain why they would benefit for having an audit committee. Here are some ideas. An audit committee should contain non-executive directors, with at least 1 that has finance experience. By having non-executive directors who are part-time and independent, they increase the experience of the board, which can help in making decisions for the company. An audit committee will be responsible for overseeing the financial reporting systems used. This will therefore improve the quality of financial reporting for the company, which will improve the credibility of the information they provide externally. An audit committee are also responsible for overseeing the internal control functions. By having an audit committee, they are able to devote time to reviewing this area of the business and will improve the internal control systems and controls overall. If Bluebird have an internal audit department, they will report directly to the audit committee. This will improve the independence internal auditors have from the board, which will ensure their work is carried out objectively. The external auditors will also liaise directly with the audit committee. This will again improve independence, which will help when there are disagreements between auditors and management. The finance director will be able to work with the audit committee to resolve any issues with the financial information. It therefore improves decision making in this area for a company. There are more points here than needed to pass this section. It is important to remember not to overrun answering this part, leaving yourself with less time to deal with other requirements. The question asks you to explain, therefore need to write more than a few words to get the full mark. Part B was to discuss advantages and disadvantages of appointing Anthony Goldfinch and Jacob Mallard as non-executive directors. As I've mentioned before, we must split the marks equally so as to get maximum marks for this requirement. To present the answer, please always reference up the part of the question you are attempting. you can include headings for each requirement also. For example, Part B Part 1 can be headed up Anthony Goldfinch, and then a subheading for advantages and another for disadvantages. Answering Part 1, we can see from the scenario that Anthony has current experience as a non-executive director. This will assist Bluebird as they are already aware of what they should be doing in that role. Anthony has also agreed to a fixed fee, which is not related to profits. This again is recommended for non-executive directors to remain independent. A disadvantage would be that Anthony is already an NED for another company and an executive director for a multinational banking company. He may not have the time to devote to the work needed for Bluebird. It also states in the scenario that he has experience in banking but not retail. A lack of experience in Bluebird's industry could lead to poor decisions being made for the company. For Part 2, and focusing on Jacob Mallard, a clear advantage is that he is a finance director for a small retail company. This therefore identifies that he has experience in Bluebird's industry, which will help with decision making and advice to the board. It also gives a further advantage as they have finance experience. This will help informing the audit committee, as at least one requires finance experience. A disadvantage is the lack of experience as an NED and his lack of independence as he is the brother of Bluebird's chief executive. This could lead to him siding or agreeing with the chief exec's decisions and lacking objectivity. The scenario also states that he has proposed a 7-year fixed contract. Corporate governance recommends that board members are re-elected regularly, no later than every 3 years. For 6 marks, you would need to explain a selection of these points. For example, 1 advantage and 2 disadvantages for Anthony Goldfinch, and 2 advantages and 1 disadvantage for Jacob Mallard. Please remember, to be successful in this type of question, we need to plan the approach and ensure we have identified how long is needed for each part. Use headings to introduce your answers and space out your points so it is clear for the marker where the marks can be allocated. Finally, if there is a scenario, use it. This information was given to you for a reason, and at F8 they are trying to see if you can apply your knowledge to a given scenario and not just be able to remember the facts. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you and good luck.